Hello and welcome to this edition of the Lynne Hayes Freeland Show. You know what? These are crazy times. There is so much news going on. I feel like we could do the show almost every day of the week, but we're going to take a break from the elections this week. But rest assured, we'll be back on elections next week. But we're going to talk about an issue that really has been in the spotlight here in Pittsburgh for a while, and that is police reform. There has been a task force that has been working, I'm going to say tirelessly. I'll get them to weigh in on whether or not it's been tirelessly or not. And they've now come up with a game plan, an action plan, and we're going to delve into it, kind of unpack it, see where they are. Three members of that task force join us today: Richard Garland, Dr. Quentin Bullock, Valerie McDonald Roberts. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Valerie, I saw you nodding your head when I said tirelessly.
Yeah.
I mean, what was this? Was it like once a week, couple times a week? I mean,
Um, we met weekly
okay.
from June 22nd, I believe it was, and we met every week as a full task force for 2 hours and oftentimes over 2 hours. Dr. Bullock, organized the meetings and drove the agenda. And he would constantly saying, "Hey guys, it's six. We start at 4:30. It's 6:30. It's 6:45, and close to 7." But also there were subcommittees. When there were at least 8 subcommittees chaired by members of the task force, and that involved other members of the task force in addition to the chair that met. I don't want to say necessarily weekly, but for a while it was weekly. But they met many hours.
Okay.
Many hours, particularly Tim Stevens, many hours.
Okay.
And I'm not going to take away everybody's thunder, but I do want to give accolades. Dr. Bullock knows that we did not have time to give the accolades to the presenters. It wasn't just the task force. We met with organizations and individuals that volunteered their time to sit at the table with us.
Oh, so there were other people that came in and presented
Yes.
to the task force.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So, Dr. Bullock, I was surprised when I saw then the report that was presented this past week. I had no idea the depth of the work and the research that this task force came up with. I mean, literally, you came up with categories, and then each one had significant detailed work on what the issues were, what the problems were, and what needs to be done.
Right. When we received our charge from Mayor Peduto, we began to think as a team on how can we approach this major and important initiative. And collectively, we began to identify themes and topic areas. And we were able to narrow it down after multiple discussions, debates on similarities, collaborations between topics to come down to the 4 themes that are in the report. And then from there, we began to identify experts in our city, research, reports, national models, representatives from different groups to come and speak to the entire task force. And then members of the task force would be prepared with questions to ask to better understand the literature that was reviewed in advance so that we would be able to gather our facts and then to begin to prepare our responses accordingly within each of our subgroups.
So, Richard, let me ask you, were there surprises?
You know what? I was surprised about the group, the individuals that the mayor got together for this task force. I was impressed with the people who were on this task force. I mean, like Dr. Bullock said earlier, we knew different names, but seeing how, people really jumped in to get this done, they were really serious. So, just that motivation alone, seeing how committed everybody was to this process, really kept me really involved too. So yeah, it was a
Okay.
great group of people.
So the one area, and I'm going to throw this out to all three of you, the one area that the media seemed to jump on was the issue of race and how race impacts so much of what happens in terms of community police relationships. Was that the most important issue?
That was the trigger. Black Lives Matter movement is what triggered all this. Those were the protests.
Mhm.
BLM was the protest. So the genesis was based upon race and how how police and the community interact with the Black and brown communities. So yes, but was it the only thing? No, it absolutely was not. As many as my fellow task force members will say, we talked to Gender Equity Commission. We talked to Welcoming Pittsburgh that is involved with immigrant engagement. We talked to the immigrant community. We talked to the transgender and the LGBTQIA community. We talked to basically so many different different demographics that transcended race, that still were a part of the quote unquote discrimination possibility. So it really went beyond race. It started race, it stayed within, that is the Black Lives Matter movement was still a theme, but it went way beyond race.
And Dr. Bullock, what surprised you?
I would defer to Dr. Bullock.
What surprised me was the in-depth work that we were doing. And I really appreciated the team's effort and reminder that we need to better understand the data and allow the data to drive the discussions. And when we looked into the data, there were measures identified that suggested racial disparities. And in the absence of any dispute to the findings, that's what led to our recommendation to seek an independent partner to do an analysis of the data to better understand the disparities that are there, or is it not related to race? And if not, what is it related to? And then use that to better guide any changes necessary in the training, the policies, the actions, the recruitment, et cetera, so that it would only improve the performance of the police force versus continue to have unfair assessments of its services.
Hold it right there. We got to take a commercial break. We have a lot more to talk about today on the Lynne Hayes Freeland Show. So don't go away. We'll be right back.